Imagine holding an object that doesn't just solve problems, but it transforms how you see them. While algorithms analyze at lightning speed, they miss something vital about human creativity, human ingenuity. The most revolutionary tools in history weren't just problem solvers, they were perception changers. And surprisingly, many were physical objects you could hold in your hands. What if the key to unlocking your creative potential isn't found in the latest AI tool, but in objects you can actually touch, that you can actually use? I'm going to share 7 physical thinking tools that'll change how you solve problems. You'll discover not just what these tools are, but exactly how to build and use them to see challenges differently, and spark breakthrough ideas and boost your creativity in ways digital tools just can't match. The edge you're looking for isn't about processing power, it's about seeing things in completely new ways. Now picture this. You're holding not just a tool, but a thought made physical. The simple object in your hand doesn't just extend your reach, it expands your mind. It doesn't just solve a problem, it reveals problems you never knew existed. This is a thinking tool. During the scientific revolution from the 1500s and let's call it 1700s, scientists called these devices philosophical instruments. Unlike ordinary tools, they served a dual purpose, advancing research while simultaneously reshaping how we understand knowledge itself. When Galileo pointed his telescope at Jupiter in 1610, he discovered its moons. But something far more profound happened in that moment. He wasn't just seeing farther, he was dismantling the entire scientific train of thought, the entire worldview. If Jupiter had moons orbiting it, then the Earth could not be the center of celestial motion. And if that fundamental belief was wrong, what else could be wrong? One simple tool of glass and a metal didn't just reveal distant planets, it shattered certainties that had stood for centuries. The telescope wasn't merely a manifestation device or a magnification device, it was a revolution you could hold in your hands. So, let's talk about the 7 original thinking tools that have changed everything. First up, we just talked about it, the telescope. It redefined our cosmic place in the world, in the universe. The telescope redefined the Earth's position. Were we in the center of everything? The center of just what we could see? Or did we believe we were in the center? Stars were not fixed points on a celestial sphere. They were distant suns. The heavens weren't placed and unchanging. They were dynamic and evolving. Our very conception of our place in the universe transformed overnight with the creation of more and more powerful telescopes. Number 2 in the ancient tools is the microscope, revealing really these hidden worlds. It revealed these hidden worlds previously we didn't even perceive them in any of our work. Blood wasn't just a red fluid, it contained cells. Disease weren't caused by bad air, it came from microorganisms too small to see with the human eye. The boundary between the visible and the invisible dissolved. Second up, the thermometer. The thermometer replaced vague sensations with precise measurements. Heat became quantifiable, not just qualifiable. This precision enabled experiments that would have been unimaginable before. What couldn't be measured could not be truly understood. The fourth of the ancient thinking tools, the barometer. Weighing, it's really thinking about that invisible thing you can't put in your hands. The barometer proved that invisible air had measurable weight and pressure. The sky above wasn't empty space. It was a sea of atmospheric pressure. The very emptiness around us became something tangible, something that we could measure, something we could understand. The fifth of the 7 ancient tools, the pendulum clock, really about time and how the importance of time. And this pendulum clock transformed time from some subjective experience to a measurable commodity. Minutes became identical units, not just varying perceptions. This standardization made possible new forms of social coordination that still shapes the way our lives live today. Basically, time becoming the fundamental element of our daily calendars. Number 6, the quadrant or the sextant. The quadrant, later evolving into the sextant, transformed our understanding of geographic space. Navigation shifted from approximation to precision. Explorers could calculate their exact position on the globe for the first time. This tool didn't just help sailors find their way, it redefined humanity's relationship with the planet itself. Number 7, and this one is kind of interesting, it's the air pump. The air pump created vacuums that challenged fundamental assumptions about nature. Could empty space exist? The question sparked fierce scientific and philosophical debates about reality itself. Many scientists didn't believe vacuum could ever exist. Sometimes the absence of something reveals more than its presence. Now, these 7 weren't just clever inventions. They were thinking revolutions made tangible. And as they spread throughout Europe, they created what we might call productive confusion, challenging assumptions and creating spaces where new thinking became not just possible, but necessary. What emerged wasn't just better science, it was fundamentally a new relationship with knowledge itself. And this tradition continues today. Though in an age of algorithms and visual tools, we often overlook the cognitive power of the physical, the thing you can touch. So let's talk about the 7 modern physical thinking tools that are driving innovation today. Today's innovations have developed these physical thinking tools that really transform creativity in ways that complement our increasingly digital workspace. Yeah, we can all have the AI tools and chat and whatever tool you want to use. There's something about the physical. So here are the 7 modern tools that continue this powerful tradition that we've seen from the ancient tools. First up, oblique strategy cards. A deck of cards containing unexpected prompts like work at a different speed or honor thy heir as a hidden intention. These cards break entrenched thinking patterns and introduce productive randomness into the creative process. The physical act of drawing a card creates the moment of commitment that digital alternatives rarely achieve. The cards create a shared experience. When a card is down, everyone witnesses the moment and commits to it collectively. Now, this social dimension adds accountability and turns what could be dismissed as random suggestions into a creative contract. Now, these particular cards, the ones I'm referencing here, and there'll be links in the description and in the show notes so you can order them yourselves, was actually created by musicians. And it was about how to deal with the creative block. How do you, when you hit that kind of stumbling point, how do you think differently? How do you disrupt kind of the pattern that we all get into when we're thinking? They're very, very powerful. Number 2, the killer question card deck. Right here is my deck. These are my cards that are based on my book. So what is it? The cards really are about containing provocative questions that are designed to shift perspective. Questions like, what customer segment will emerge in 5 years that does not exist today? Think about it. What customer segment will emerge in 5 years that doesn't exist today? This will open up mental doors you don't even know are closed. And unlike direct solutions, questions create productive tension between what we assume and what might be possible. These questions work on a deeper cognitive level because they activate our natural problem solving instincts rather than triggering our resistance to being told what to do. Think about it, the power of questions. Our minds cannot halt itself from trying to answer the question. Even though you may not verbalize something, when you hear a question, your brain immediately tries to answer it. And depending on how you word the questions, that can be physically possible. In the case of the killer questions, I've covered this. You can find it in past episodes about how to use this in a group, how to use it in your solo ideation activities. Questions. It's really the power of questions. But why the physicality of the card deck? It's because of this randomness. Now, you can make a digital tool out of it if you want, but what I don't want you to do is to take the questions and pump them into ChatGPT and come up with the answers, because what you want is this random connection of the different dots. And that leads us in to the third physical tool, innovation dice. These are specialized dice that are assigned random constraints, such as must use existing materials only or must reduce manufacturing steps by 50%. The tactile experience of rolling dice engages different neural pathways than just digital randomizers, and it helps teams escape, again, these mental ruts. The physical action of rolling dice introduces an element of play that relaxes critical judgment while simultaneously adding constraints that focus creative energy. Now, in this creative energy, it's really a paradoxical combination that creates a sweet spot for innovation. Now, what I have been experimenting with is actually creating my own version of innovation dice. And this includes 3D printing dice with certain icons on them so that you can randomly roll them and see what the results are and use that as kind of the sparking point for your creativity. Next up, number 4, tangible problem mapping kits. These are physical tokens representing users, touch points, pain points that teams arrange on a surface, on a desktop, or if you do it magnetically, you do it up on your whiteboard. This spatial manipulation reveals relationships that might be missed in digital formats. I don't know what it is. It is this physical moving things around. Where's the problem? Where's the bottleneck? Where's the thing we should focus on? Well, how would we rearrange this? What other thing could we introduce to solve that problem? These kits leverage our evolved capacity for spatial reasoning. This is a unique human ability. It's a form of intelligence that literally predates language. The physical nature of the tokens allows multiple people to manipulate the system simultaneously, creating a truly collaborative thinking environment. And number 5, metaphor objects. Collections of everyday items from kitchen gadgets to toys that help teams describe challenges physically. Saying our product should fold like this umbrella creates immediate shared understanding of what it is you mean, rather than it needs to fold and have creases and compress into a small space. Show it. Take a common object, a metaphor for what it is you're trying to convey, and show it. Metaphor objects work because they engage our embodied cognition, the way we understand abstract concepts through physical experience. These objects become anchors for complex ideas, allowing teams to reference them with a gesture rather than a lengthy explanation. Number 6. Now, this is going to sound really simplistic. It works, trust me. And that's decision wheels. Physical spinners are used to help prioritize features or allocated resources. We tend to always want to do a vote. Do all of us agree that this is the most important thing, or do we all agree that's not a really good idea? To get out of that, try doing these spinners. These wheels add an element of chance that prevents predictable decision patterns and disrupts the hidden politics that often drive decision making. Decision wheels work because they create a moment of suspense that focuses everyone. And I've seen it. You put up all your ideas, which is the one we should focus on first, rather than doing the voting. And if you've been on listening to the channel for a while, you know that I'm big on ranking ideas and ranking methodologies. But every once in a while, use a decision wheel, that physicality, having everybody together and everybody waiting to see where the wheel's going to land. Think of it as your own variation of Wheel of Fortune. And number 7, and I cannot underestimate this, and this is material libraries. This is a physical collection of materials with different properties, textures, weights, transparencies that designers handle to spark new product ideas. If you are involved in anything where you create some form of physicality, then you need these kinds of texture wheels. If you're not doing physical, then what about colors, particularly digital colors? If not, check out, there's some products out there called color cubes. I've got them here in the studio, and it brings together unique combinations of colors to kind of spark your ideas about the kind of colors you would represent if you're designing a mobile app or designing a website. Rather than just using the standards of what everybody else is doing, you can stand out. Now, in the case of these physical collection, the libraries tap into what neuroscientists call our haptic perception. The combination of touch, this spatial awareness, this perception of experience and feel that represents a significant portion of our brain's sensory processing capabilities. Materials engage our intuitive understanding of physical properties in ways that even the best digital renderings just cannot match. Now, for me, I do have my physical collection. It's actually not here in the studio. I would have brought it over to show you, but it's a collection of everything from different types of metals, aluminum, steel, titanium, different kinds of plastic, smooth, rough, different kinds of materials, PLA, PTG, ASA, because they do things that you don't expect, like transfer of heat. So if you use it on the outside of a phone, particularly the back case where the battery is, and you charged it and then you pick it up, some materials you'll feel that warmth. And maybe you want that to kind of give a warm, kind of almost like a hug feel. What I really have seen is, particularly for those organizations that don't have people on staff that understand design, they don't think about the materials. They want to copy. I want to be like Apple, so I'm going to use aluminum, or I have to hit a certain price point, so I want injection molded ASA, whatever it is, right? That touch, that tactile feel is really important. And so having that physical library, the different materials that you would consider or build into, and it could be everything like this tabletop is actually pounded copper. I love this table. I've had it in the studio here forever, but it has a very kind of unique and look and feel to it, but it's literally pounded copper. So it makes a statement about, the use of materials. So in this case, this just becomes another part of the tool. So if you're designing furniture, if you're building consumer electronic devices, you're building kitchen supplies, do not overlook the use of the materials. So let's talk back. What makes all of these physical tools so powerful isn't just that they're novelty. So you can do killer questions, innovative, whack pack. Here's Roger Von Ock's first whack tech, and then here's a second one. If you don't know him, check him out. He is phenomenal. And this is a very limited edition card deck that was developed at the Art Center College of Design for really talking about mobility. And I'm going to guess this deck was created by some students at Art Center. I'm going to think 2005, 2004, something like that. I used to do collaborations with them when I was at HP. They gave me the card deck. But they just created it themselves for a project that they had particularly on mobility vision. And how do you think and randomize and think about what the future of mobility is going to be? And it's a pretty interesting card deck. Again, very limited edition. In fact, it's never been commercially released. I think this is one of a handful of the decks that were ever produced. So, but it's really not about it's not about the novelty. It's not the uniqueness. It's that they engage our minds differently than digital alternatives. They tap into a fundamental truth about human cognition, human ingenuity, that thinking doesn't just happen in our heads. This physicality, the touching of things, it happens in our hands. So these physical thinking tools reveal something profound about just innovation itself. They show us that thinking is not just mental, it's embodied, it's all of us. And this embodiment changes everything about how we create. Physical thinking tools engage multiple cognitive modes simultaneously, combining tactile. So this dice, really, really smooth. This dice has raised pieces. These kinds of tools, touching the physical materials. You touch titanium, you touch aluminum, they're both metal, they feel very different. This multi-sensory engagement activates neural networks that purely digital thinking leaves dormant. Your hands literally know things your mind doesn't yet realize. Titanium has certain characteristics, aluminum has certain characteristics. When you touch them, they feel distinctly different. This creates productive constraints that sparks creativity. By limiting options in unexpected ways, they force novel solutions. Constraints become catalysts rather than limitations. A counterintuitive truth that every creative professional eventually discovers. And I'm giving it to you here today, so you're discovering it today. The physicality of these tools slows down our reflective, shoot from the hip thinking. We're touching things, we're engaging. The manipulation creates natural pauses for reflection that allows really a deeper level of processing. In an age of instant responses and algorithmic suggestions, this deliberate pace can be revolutionary. While AI excels at pattern recognition and recommending the next logical thing based on all the training data, which means it's just regurgitating what everybody else thinks, physical tools excel at pattern breaking and fundamentally reframing. Using it to help feed your subconscious to do those dot connections that AI will never be able to do. The two approaches can be complementary. You can use algorithms generating options, and then use physical tools helping us to see problems in entirely new ways. So it's not, don't use AI. You can actually integrate them and work them together. So, are you ready to enhance your creative thinking? Here's how to start building your own collection of physical thinking tools. So, first off, start small and simple. Begin with just one or two tools that resonate with your specific creative challenges, whether it's a card deck, some form of physical device. Start collecting up your material library. You know, in my case, I started off before I created the card deck for all of you to be able to get. It was a homemade set of question cards that can be, really to start transforming. I started writing down questions. The original card deck is around here, or maybe stuck in a box someplace. There's pictures of it online. You can just look for killer questions, and Google will bring up a picture of the old original card deck. But you can start with just creating your own card deck. Just get index cards and write your questions, or collecting of interesting objects, things made out of certain materials like plastics or materials that you use, whether it be physical metal or plastics and things that you just really find interesting. And again, these can be enough to really just to start transforming your thinking patterns. The key is regular use rather than making complexity. Oh, I need to go find 12 tools and I need to learn all of them. before I use them. Start with one, use it. Start with the second one, use it. And then the other is you can make your own. You don't need to buy things from other people. You can create your own physical thinking tools, and it adds another dimension to your creativity. Design a set of question cards specifically to your field. Build a simple decision wheel from cardboard and a push pen. Collect objects from interesting properties in a dedicated metaphor box. Take a drawer in your tool cabinet or on a shelf, or just take a box and throw them in. I've got one box here that is just old mobile phones. I ran the mobile phone piece of HP for a number of years. I've been in the mobile industry forever. I'm always interested in what are the different materials and how they feel in consumers' hands, given that these are devices that people live in every day. So collect objects that you find interesting and start creating a collection for them. The act of making these tools really primes your mind for their use. And then practice with others. These tools work best in collaborative settings. Invite colleagues or friends to a session where you explore a challenge using one of these physical tools, whether it be card decks or innovation dice or whatever it is you use. That shared experience creates a multiplier effect. Others will see connections you miss. The one difference here on this is I would strongly suggest you have everybody in the same room. This is very hard to do virtually unless you replicate and they have the exact same physical devices. You having the card deck, holding the card up to a Zoom camera doesn't work. Trust me on that. You want to be in that physical proximity. And then next up is document your discoveries. Keep a simple journal. This is the lab book here for the studio, all the experiments we run, all the activities, all the collaborations we do with organizations and government agencies, whatever, gets documented in the lab book. One of the things I learned from my days at HP, each page is numbered, document it, keep track of it, build a knowledge base for the organization. Does that be complex? Just keep a journal of insights really generated through these tools. It'll reveal when to apply these tools. Tells you what patterns emerged or which tools generated what kinds of breakthroughs. And this documentation will help you refine your toolkits and develop your own methodology, which is important. Don't try to copy somebody else's approach. Don't say, oh, that's how Phil does brainstorming. Create your own way to do it. Find what works for you, for your organization, for your team, or even for your project. Next, though, is you do want to create a set of rituals, not rituals that you're going to use the same process, but you want to integrate these tools into regular rituals. Perhaps you draw a strategy card every Monday morning or use mapping tokens before any major decision. These rituals build the habit of thinking differently and signal to your brain that you're shifting cognitive modes. You're shifting to something different. Now, let's reflect back here. The scientific revolution we talked about before, from 1400 to 1700, wasn't just built by scientists. It required skilled instrument makers who combined technical craftsmanship with conceptual understanding. Simply, today's creative leaders, yourselves, me, need to become artisans of thinking tools, crafting not just solutions, but the instruments that transform how people think, how we should be perceiving our problems. Sitting back, you can buy these tools, but why don't you create your own? Why don't we create one? This requires a shift from solution thinking to tool making, to being a maker. It demands attention to how tools shape thought, not just what they help us produce. It requires patience with productive confusion rather than rushing to clarity. Maybe you create a tool specific for the problem or project you're on rather than just searching Google and downloading a bunch of stuff online. The most revolutionary insights rarely come from having more data or more processing power. They come from seeing familiar problems in unfamiliar ways, or as I say quite often, seeing with fresh eyes. And physical thinking tools excel precisely at this perceptual transformation. The humble instruments that sparked the scientific revolution didn't just change what scientists could see, they changed what humanity could think. Wow, we're not the center. There are these other planets. There are other universes. All those stars are suns. So could we explore them? How would we get, it opened up a whole new way to think about space, starting off with just the humble telescope. Today's physical thinking tools carry that same transformative potential. They await only our recognition of their power and our willingness to let them transform not just our work, but our minds. In a world of increasingly shaped by algorithms, perhaps our most valuable skills will be precisely those that the machines cannot replicate. The ability to question assumptions, to make unexpected connections, and to fundamentally reframe problems. Physical thinking tools helps us develop exactly these capabilities. Try creating just one physical thinking tool this week. Use it consistently for 7 days. Then notice how your perception changed, not just in the specific problems you're addressing, but of the very nature of the problems themselves. That shift in perception is where true innovation begins. Now, and I would ask, if you do that, and you try it out, and you uncover something, share it. Put it in the comments. Send me an email. Share it. Let's learn. So as we wrap up, thank you for staying with me right up here to the very end. If you found value in these ideas, please subscribe to see more on the thinking skills tools, creative problem solving, innovation. Let me know. Consider becoming a member over on Patreon, link in the description. Your support allows us to continue to create this type of content. Members get access to exclusive content, invitations to private live streams from here in the studio, discounts on merchandise, and special events. And remember, the most powerful innovations often come not from having more information, but from seeing the same information differently. So use your physical tools, create your physical tools, whatever they might be, and think differently. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.